We're going to continue exactly where we left off yesterday. We are on page Samech Bet Amud Aleph, 62a. If you want to follow, in Parashat Noach, of course. And very quickly, what we talked about yesterday, we talked about that 7 days before the flood, the Kadosh Baruch Hu already announced to Noach that he's about to destroy the world, that he's about to bring the flood. And we were asking, it was Rabbi Yehuda that was asking Rabbi Shimon, why 40 days? Why not 20 days? And one not 1 day, one not 100 days? So Rashi says because for 40 days it takes for the embryo to be developed, since they damaged in marital relations and they brought mamzerim. I don't want to say the word in English, because in English when you say the word mamzer, it doesn't sound so nice, and I already got cornered a few times when I said what's a mamzer in English. This is not a nice word to say, but a mamzer is when a child comes from a marital relation that one of the parents are married to somebody else, of course. So that's the Rashi's version, but the Zohar says 40 days because we know the Torah says that when somebody has to be punished, they get punished with 40 lashes. And then comes another question, why did it say in the Torah that the flood will be 40 days and 40 nights? Why twice it's saying that? So the Zohar explains that the human beings are created from 4 elements. Each element corresponds to one of the Sfirot, Chesed, Gvura, Tiferet, and Malchut. Each element is built from 10 Sfirot, makes it 40. Therefore Hashem wanted to uproot completely the existence of mankind. So he had to go and hit, so to say, the level of the elements. And therefore, it was 40 days and 40 nights. We talked about how the Kadosh Baruch Hu says that he's going to completely destroy the universe. He uses the word yekum. Either than that, he would use the word land, planet, whatever. Rather, Kadosh Baruch Hu says he's going to destroy the universe, the yekum. So we learned that there was also a destruction in the worlds above. Another question that we presented by Rabbi Yitzchak that was asking Rabbi Shimon, why does it say that the land has to be destroyed too? After all, the land didn't do anything. It's the people who sinned, not the land. Why are you destroying the land? So we were explaining that the purpose for the land is to serve the people. Since the people are the main part, the humans, and the humans sinned, the land by default gets punished also. Besides that, we were talking about that the main sin that they did was they were spilling semen, and they were using instead of procreating, they used marital relations for their own pleasures and used it in a very immoral way. So the semen that was dropped on the land made the land impure, that the land suffered from that to be punished. And we brought different other different places where we had something very similar. And then we asked another question by Rabbi Yitzchak, why the world was destroyed with water and not with anything else? Why not with fire? Or maybe having a planet bump into Earth and cause a huge tsunami, whatever. Why dafka the water? So we explained that there is a Kabbalistic term. I said we're going to explain it a little bit now in the beginning of the class. There is a Kabbalistic term that is called Maim Nukbin and Maim Duchrin. In the world of the Sfirot, we have 10 Sfirot that are broken into 2 groups. Mochin, intellect. These are called Gimel Rishonot. According to the Ari, he counts the Sfirot Chochma, Bina, and Dat. According to the Ramak, he counts the Sfirot Keter, Chochma, Bina. But nevertheless, these are the Mochin, the intellect. Then we have the Gimel, the Zayin Tachtonot, the 7 below ones. These are called Midot. In the middle, there's a group that we call them as a face, Zeir Anpin, which are Chesed, Gvura, Tiferet, Netzach, Hod, Yesod, and they're broken into a female and into a male. This is called Zun, Zachar v'Nekeva. Every act that we do in the world below is causing a unity in the world above. If it's a positive act, of course. If it's a negative act, a sin, then we're causing a separation in the world above. Now, the way it works in the world above is that there's an elevator going up and down, like a Shabbat elevator. You know, the Shabbat elevators, they go up and down, they don't stop. So there is a spiritual elevator going from the world above to the world below, to the world above to the world below. When the elevator is going from the world above to the world below, it's called It'aruta Dil'ela, an awakening from the world above. Hashem is sending a message from the world above to the world below. It's my term that I said message. It's sending an energy, a certain shefa, a certain abundance to the world below. But when we do something in this world, usually it will have to be in a form of a mitzvah, a form of a kind act, and so forth. Then we're elevating, we're now sending something to the world above, and this is called It'aruta Diltata, an awakening from the world below. This is more familiar to many people who learn Chassidut and Kabbalah, the term of It'aruta Dil'ela and It'aruta Diltata. But the teachings of Kabbalah, and this is coming from the Zohar, the same thing is just named different. So It'aruta Dil'ela is called Maim Duchrin, and the It'aruta Diltata is called Maim Nukbin. Maim is water. Maim, that's what signifies a shefa and a giving and abundance. Duchrin means male. Nukbin means female. Always has to be a form of a unity between a male and a female. And not necessarily the male and the female what we picture in a body. Rather, in the spiritual term, it's called Zachar and a Nekeva, a giver and a taker, so to say, a receiver, a mashpia and a mekabel, some form that gives and a form that receives. So the Maim Duchrin is the energy coming from above to below. Maim Nukbin is energy going from the world below to above. Now we mentioned yesterday that the name of Hashem that created the world, Yud Kei Vav Kei, so we have a Yud and we have a Hey, and then we have another Vav, and then we have another Hey, a Yud, and then a Hey, and then a Vav, and then a Hey. The Yud and the Vav come from the right side, so they're called male. There's this called a Zachar, and the Hey, both the Heys are coming from the left side, and they're called Nekeva, a female. If you're looking at the structure of the Sfirot, then we have Chesed on the right side. Above Chesed, you have Chochmah. So Chochmah, Chesed, Netzach. This is on the right side. This is coming from the Zachar. The left side, you have Bina, right? You following? Gvura, and then Hod. So this is the left side. Anything that's coming from the left side is called Nekeva, a female. So if you're looking at the left side, the higher of all Sfirot is Bina. Bina is corresponding to the first Hey of Hashem of a name. So that's the Hey means it's a female. Go all the way down. And the last Hey of a name of Hashem corresponds to the Sfira of Malchut. We explained yesterday and many other times that we have two mothers. We have a Rachel and we have a Leah. Rachel is called Ima Tata'a, a lower level of mother. And Leah is called the Ima Ila'a, a higher level of mother. And Rachel constantly has to elevate a shefa from below to above to the original, to the Sfira of Bina. So both the Bina and Malchut, both the Heys of Hashem are females. Now, when in the world below they damage, specifically in the department of marital relations, what is called the arayot, they went with the wrong gender, they went with the right gender, the wrong gender, they messed everything up when it came to marital relations. So since they damaged it in the world below, what it caused a separation in the world above between the female side and the male side. So the Yud and the Vav of Hashem's name was removed. What was left was two Heys. And Hey of Bina, Hey of Malchut, these are two females. And the two Heys, they caused, this is the lower Hey is Maim Nukbin, the higher Hey is Maim Duchin. As long as they didn't have a male, then all was left was water. So the water came down, pouring into the world. It came from a spiritual place, but it transformed into water, into the physical place, into the physical realm. This is the answer that Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai gives, why Dafka water. There's many other interpretations, was a mikveh, was a purification, and so forth. But nevertheless, here is one explanation, why specifically with water, because also fire can be purification. It's not a mikveh, but when I want to, for example, when I want to make a utensil kosher, if something becomes impure, then I can put it in fire. It also will purify it. So one can argue and say, okay, fire would purify the world. But the water, according to Rabbi Shimon, then because the male and the female got separated, the Yud and the Vav of Hashem's name was removed, and what was left was two Heys, two Maim Nukbi, Maim Duchin, and that caused a flood in the world above and went and poured everything down. This is a quick explanation of what he said yesterday. But now we're going to continue. If you remember yesterday, we also talked about that the water was boiling hot. It wasn't regular water. It wasn't water that you just need the life vest to swim. Rather, it was extremely boiling hot water. Again, I know yesterday the class was PG-20, and it wasn't the most easy to hear things, but it kept repeating over and over that their main damage was by spilling their semen. And again, not to get into too many details, but semen is also warm when it comes out of the body, like urine. So the same way they damage with something that is hot, then the water had to be hot too. So nevertheless, the water was boiling hot. It says in the Zohar, we read it yesterday, that it was so hot it burned their skin off their body. Kind of like an H-bomb. So it wasn't they were just swimming there and they were like, okay, what's the big deal? We get some life jackets. The water was so hot that it was literally melting them. Today we're going to see how the water was hot, how it's affected the people there. So we're continuing again, same page, 62a. And the line starts with Rabbi Chia. We explained many times that Rabbi Shimon had a group of students. Yesterday we got acquainted with Rabbi Yitzchak and Rabbi Yehuda. Now this says that two students of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, Rabbi Chia and Rabbi Yehuda, it says on them, Rabbi Chia and Rabbi Yehuda havo azlei be'archa. These two Tanaim, Rabbi Chia and Rabbi Yehuda, they went on the path. Umatu legabe turin ravravan, and they got to a place where it was very large mountains. Could be somewhere around here. Could be even a little bit north from here. The norther you go, the more mountains there is. And for example, Lebanon is full of mountains. You go all the way to Turkey, it's even becomes more mountains. So we don't know exactly where they went, but could very much be somewhere around here. It says they went to a place, Umatu legabe Turin d'Ravravan. They went to a place where the Turin is mountains, very big mountains. Ve'ashkachu benei Turia. And they were going between the mountains, and you know what they found between the mountains? Garmei bnei Nasha. They found the bones of human beings. Dahavo me'inu bnei Tofna. From those people that were before the Mabul. They found the bones of the people that lived before the flood. Upasu. What? And listen to this. Upasu, and they walked. Klat mea psi'an begar machada. They walked 300 steps. Now we don't know if it's 300 feet or 300 steps. That will make it already 600 feet or maybe even 900 feet. What was the path of 300 steps? The length of one bone. That's what it says. Upasu tlat mea psi'an begar machada. Garma is the bone. Chada, one bone. So they went, and again, it says psiot. It doesn't say necessarily feet. So I understand from that you're looking here about 600 feet. Because when you walk, you don't walk a foot. You don't walk, heel to toe. You walk. So just to make it a quick analogy, I'm thinking here is we're talking here about, let's say, 600 feet. But that's the length of one bone. Tavahu. They were wow. They were wowed. How do you say they were shocked? Startled. What? Startled. Yeah. They were tamehu. Wow. Look at that. And they said, Amru, Hainu de Amru chavarna de inun la havu mistapu medina de kuchabrichu. They were shocked from the size of one bone, and they said to each other, you know what we understand from that? Muvan. We understand from what our friends, meaning the other Tanaim, the students of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, that the men there, they were so huge that they were giants. I mean, we know that it says in the Torah, it says very clearly, V'nefilim azgaru ba'aretz, Nephilim are giants. They understood that they were so huge, therefore they didn't fear the judgment of Hashem. They would say, what can happen to us? We're giants. If one bone is 300 foot, or according to my understanding, 600 foot, just imagine what it is. You're talking here about a 2,000 feet man. Nevertheless, they understood that they weren't afraid, that they were giants, and the word that it's using here not heroes, but giborim. They were like warriors, and they weren't afraid of the judgment of Hashem. Kama dichtiv, as it says, vayomru la'el sur mimenu v'da'at darkecha lo chafatzno. Excuse me. There is a verse in the book of Eov that it says, he's quoting here, that what we read now is a verse from the book of Eov, that it says, they said to Hashem, vayomru la'el, sur mimenu, move away from us, v'da'at darkecha lo chafatzno, we don't want to hear what you have to say to us. Ma avdu. They weren't listening even to Hashem. Saying in other words, shesamchu al givuratam, lachen saru medech Hashem. They were so confident in their might that they went against Hashem. Now, what happened when the flood started? Now, this, you know what a flood you need for these giants? So it says, ma avdu havu setimin bereglaihu, mabu'ei tehoma. What did they do when the water started coming down? So for 40 days was just a mabul, was just a flood, was just not a flood, extremely strong rain. How do you say that in English? It's not a flood.
Torrential downpour. Deluge.
The what?
Deluge.
Deluge? Okay, in Hebrew it's called mabul. When the rain is coming down and it's coming like, how they say, cats and dogs. Right? So this is coming more than cats and dogs, 40 days. And that didn't bother them, that was like a shower. But we read yesterday that ma'ayanot tehom, the well springs that are hidden under the ground, they all open, like, how do you call them? The geysers. But imagine that, but with power coming up from the bottom, that was already serious. Now listen what the Zohar says, very, very interesting. It says, what did they do when those geysers opened and boiling hot water was coming up from the bottom like a jacuzzi? What did they do? They used to step on them with their legs.
Giants.
The giants. You know, one will come out, whoop, they would step on it with the leg. You ever saw the movie Ice Age? My kids saw it not too long ago. So there's this little squirrel, he's the problem maker. That squirrel always starts a problem. And there's a scene that water is coming out from a mountain, so he closes it like that. And then, so it comes out from here, so he closes it like that. And then 4 times, so he has 2 hands, 2 legs, and then it comes again, so he closes with his mouth, and then he starts inflating. So what did these giants do? They would step on it with their foot. Okay? Ma avdu havu. What did they used to do? Setimin bereglaihu. They used to cover it with their feet. Mabu'ei tehoma. They used to close the hole where the water came out from. But umain nafkin retichan, but the water was boiling hot water. Vela yachilu lemekam behu. They would put their leg and it becomes too hot, so they would remove the leg. Okay, they couldn't sustain the heat. The water was so hot they couldn't stand on it. Ad dehavu nishmatin venaflei be'aro maitin. Till they used to fall from the heat, and at some point they fell down on the ground and they died. Okay, so now we know there were giants and what happened to them, and how the water completely cooked them. There was chicken soup, just a giant soup instead of cooking chicken soup. טוב, ויולד נוח 3 בנים. Now we continue. Noach gave birth to 3 boys. Amar Rabbi Chia leRabbi Yehuda. We still have these 2 Tanaim. They're walking on a hike, and they're stumbling over these massive bones. So Rabbi Chia tells Rabbi Yehuda, Ta ve'ema, come and I'll tell you something, a secret that I have heard. Ta ve'ema lach mili deshmana behai. I have heard a secret. Doesn't say from who, but he says, come, I'll tell you. Metal levarnash, a parable for a human. De'a el lenukba, iba demaha bezimna chada. That he got a woman pregnant, and he gave her, it says, the word in Hebrew is a nice word, in English it might not sound so nice, but he gave her a holy sperm in her stomach. This is a nice way of saying that he got her pregnant, in a nice way. And you know how when we pray for somebody to be pregnant, we say Zera Chaya V'Kayama. Why you say Zera? Zera is sperm. It sounds not so nice in English, in Hebrew, in Aramaic. It's a normal thing to say, that the person should be blessed with Zera. Zera means also Avraham Avinu. We're going to read about it in 4 weeks. That HaKadosh Baruch Hu told him, Bezara'acha. Right? He's talking about your Zera, again, the sperm. And this is in a nice way, not in a derogatory way. But nevertheless, this parable is talking about a person who got a woman pregnant. And in one shot, they had marital relations and she got pregnant. Ve'nafkei trein otlat abnin. And 2 or 3 boys came out from that pregnancy. Chad mitparsha me'archa be'orchoi be'ovdoi. Each one went to a different direction. One of course, the boys. Da zaka veda chayva veda beinoni. One was a tzaddik, one was a rasha, and one was a beinoni. A middle, not here, not here. Not a beinoni, what the book of Tanya says. This is a very high level. Beinoni means half here, half here. Half mitzvot, half averot. And what is he trying to say? Ki Noach shaya befrinat yesod. This is a commentary already. He says, what is he trying to say with this parable? That Noach was coming from the sphira of Yesod. We know that each one of the tzaddikim, they're rooted in one of the sphirot. Noach came from the sphere of Yesod. Hemshich nishmat banav yachad bepa'am achat. He brought all 3 boys in one shot. His wife didn't have a few pregnancies, they were triplets. Excuse me. Where did he bring them from? One from Chesed, one from Gvura, one from Tiferet. Where did he bring them to? Straight into the Malchut. He was able to pull them in one shot. And of course we know we have 3 boys, Shem, Cham and Yefet. Lachen yatzu mimenu gimel banim. That's why 3 boys came out of Noach. Shem came from the side of Chesed, therefore he was a tzaddik. Cham came from the side of Gvura, therefore he had a very strong possession of the klipa, so he became a wicked person. Later on, we're going to read how he did a not nice act to his father, and his father cursed him. So Cham came from the side of Gvura, Veyefet came from the side of Tiferet. So he was nishta here, nishta hen, not here, half, a Benoni. Ufachinami. Even here, their souls are hinting on 3 knots. In a different place in the Zohar, we talked about it. I'll explain it in a second. It's hinting about 3 knots. Klat kitrei derucha. 3 knots, that these are the spiritual existence in the human body. And what are these 3 knots that we're referring to, that are the existence of the human body? Is the nefesh, ruach, and neshama. 3 levels of the soul. The Zohar here and in other places calls it kitrei derucha. A kitrei is a knot, when you take 2 things and you knot them together. And the nefesh, ruach, neshama, I mean, we explained that a few times. Some people imagine that the nefesh, ruach, and neshama, they're one above the other. There, it will make a little bit more sense how they're like kind of knotted to each other. But really we know that the nefesh is dressed into the ruach, is dressed into the neshama. The yechida is all the way in. It's like kind of looking at, if you're looking at from above, it's like an onion type, that it's like layered. Not one above the other, rather one inside the other. But nevertheless, here he says that these 3 souls of Shem, Cham, and Yefet, they're hinting to us about the spiritual structure, about the spiritual structure in the human body, which is of course the nefesh, ruach, and neshama. Shem was the bechina, the level of neshama. Yefet was the bechina of ruach, and Cham was bechina of nefesh. Azlin v'shatan v'yitkalilen bitlat almin. These 3 levels, nefesh, ruach, neshama, they go and they, so to say, manifest in one level to another level, and they go down into the worlds, and now they're being dressed into the worlds that the neshama is becoming unified with the world that is called Bria. The Ruach goes a little bit lower and it gets dressed in the world that is called Yetzirah, and the Nefesh goes a little bit lower and gets dressed in the world that is called Asiyah. Okay? Azlin v'shatan, they go down. V'itkalan betlat almin, they become one, they become united with the worlds below. And exactly like I said, neshama bebriya, ruach yetzira, and nefesh ba'asiya. And this is a side note, as a commentary of the Ramak. Now he comes and he explains as follows. Tachazi, come and see. Nishmata nafkat, the soul goes out from the world of Bria. That's where it's, so to say, carved from. Ve'a'el ben turei peruda. And it goes down between two mountains that are separated from each other. What are these mountains that it's referring to? It goes into the world of Yetzirah, between the world of Bria and the world of Yetzirah. This is the place where the klipot are positioned. V'itchaba rucha benishmata. Now what happens is the neshama goes down and it gets connected to the ruach that is in the world of Yetzirah. How? Al yedei shemitlabeshet haneshama betoch haruach. They don't get connected like this. Rather, if this is the ruach, imagine now a cup, and the neshama gets dressed perfectly into the ruach. Perfect fit. You know how you have the cups there like a pile of cups? And one gets built inside the other. So the neshama gets dressed perfectly, 100% perfect fit into the ruach. If it wouldn't be a perfect fit, it wouldn't be able to fit there. Now what happens? Now you have a component of the neshama and the ruach together, and they go down into the world of asiyah, and they get dressed perfectly into the nefesh. Custom fit, it's perfectly gets dressed there. So now we have a neshama dressed into a ruach, dressed into a nefesh. And all of them. Then they all go one inside the other, and where do they go down to? They go down into the body, and they get dressed into the body. Then the nefesh, ruach, and neshama, once they're in their body, they kind of like a click, and they all get together. Now they're not separable. When in the world above, they're loose. They can easily go in and out from each other. Once they're sitting already in the body, and the body is a perfect mold of the nefesh. People think the wrong way that it's the nefesh, that it's the body that has the shape. But really, the body is like an empty balloon. And when you pump up the balloon, then the balloon gets a certain shape. So when I was a kid, the balloons had only one shape, a shape of a balloon. Now there's balloons in the shape of hearts and stars and all sorts of shapes. The body is an empty balloon. Once you blow in some air, the balloon gets a shape. Same thing here. We just read that last week. The Kadosh Baruch Hu created the mold. Hashem went and blew the neshama into the body, and the neshama inflated the body. So the shape of the body is because that's how the nefesh is shaped. And we explained that, if you remember, we had a series of classes when we talked about the fingerprints. Remember, we talked about fingerprints and the lines in the hands and all the lines in the face. If you remember, then I explained that the fingerprints and all the lines we have on the hand and our face is because that's how the nefesh has the lines, and the nefesh is pressing against the body, so we get here all the lines on our hands and our face. If you dig up a body, lo alenu, from the grave, after a month of being in the body, you'll see it doesn't have lines anymore, because the nefesh is already left. After 30 days, the nefesh has already left the body. In the beginning, the nefesh is still in the body. But after the nefesh leaves the body, then you're not going to have, that's why, if you physically see it, then it looks like the body is deteriorating. But it's the nefesh going out, so the body is losing, so to say, its form. Now, go back to what we were just saying. Amar Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda, he disagreed with what Rabbi Chia said, and he says, Nefesh veruach kalilan da'imda. The nefesh and the ruach are merged one inside the other when it's in the body of the human, she'ifshar lichyot biladam, and you can't live without the nefesh and the ruach. The neshama can be out of the body, that we know. The Arizal already explained many different places that chas v'shalom, a person does a severe sin, the neshama leaves the body. And a person that chas v'shalom lo alenu does a sin that is called one of the sins falling under the category of karet, then there's no neshama in the body. The neshama leaves the body, and the body is able to function because there's a certain impression on the body, what it's called rishimu, and the body can go another 40, 50 years. But nevertheless, according to Rabbi Yehuda here, then the body cannot live without a nefesh and a neshama, which that's what we agree with. Nevertheless, so it says, Amar Rabbi Yehuda, nefesh ruach kalil and da'imda, the nefesh and the ruach are included inside the other. The body cannot live without them. Nishmata sharya be'archoi devarnash, but the neshama, it is dwelling on the person according to his actions, and not only according to his actions, excuse me, also he says the fid rachav v'kisharon ma'asav, according to how he behaves and according to his actions. Vehi medora temira, and the neshama is not everybody receives the level of neshama. This is a very high level to receive neshama. If you remember, we learned that also a few times, that when the person is born, then you receive the nefesh by default. You get a nefesh. When we were born, we get a nefesh. When we reach to the age of bar mitzvah and bat mitzvah for a girl, then if the actions are kosher, then they will get the level of ruach. And then only in the age of 20, if the actions are kosher and good, then we get the level of neshama. Doesn't mean that we all reach to the level of neshama. It's a very high level to reach. So here, according to what Rabbi Yehuda says, Vehi, talking about the neshama, Medora Temira, this is a very high level, and not only a high level, it's also a concealed level. De la ityadaatra, that the person, till he receives the level of neshama, it's staying in a concealed compartment in the world above, in where it's rooted in the sphere of Bina. Asher lo noda mekoma, and nobody knows where the neshama is sitting there. Ata barnash leitdaka mesayin le benishmat kadisha. If the person comes to pure himself, to do tshuva, he comes to change his acts and so forth, mesayin oto, then he gets assistance from above. We learned that also a few times. It says habal itaer mesayin oto. If I decide to do tshuva and I say enough with the junk, I'm finishing with all this nonsense, I'm turning my ways, and I want to do serious tshuva. When Hashem knows that it's serious, then they send you a lot of assistance. And it says, a person wants to become impure, so they send him all the tools to make sure that he will become impure. But how do they assist the person from above? I want to do tshuva right now. I wake up in the morning and I said, enough with the junk. I want to do tshuva. How am I getting this assistance? Mesayin oto im neshama kedosha. They give him a neshama, and the neshama is so holy, then the neshama is able to overpower the yetzer hara. Mesayin oto im neshama kedosha kedei sheyuchal להתגבר על היצר הרע. Which means that in order for me to really do tshuva and to overpower the yetzer hara, then I need to bring myself to a place of purity that I will receive a neshama. So it's almost like a tag team, right? I'm already weak, and I can't fight already next to the opponent. I go like this, and then what's his name, Kerry Van Erich, he jumps into the ring. I mean, not everybody gets my joke, but nevertheless, the neshama jumps in, and now you're coming with full power. You have a power to fight the yetzer hara. And he continues and he says, "V'dachan." And they're assisting. They purify the nefesh and the ruach and the body. Umekadshim, and they're making it holy. Ve'ikrei kadosh. Now the person can be called kadosh, holy. La zacha vela ate leitdaka. If the person doesn't have the merit and he doesn't come to be pured, train dagrin petichin de'inun nefesh veruach be. Two levels of paths to go in from to the kedusha is only through the nefesh and to the ruach. It's almost like you go into a very high secured place. I don't know how it is in other places. In the Israeli army, you are rated by they do a certain check on you, and you get a certain rate or a rank based on who you are. It's called sivuk bitroni, and according to your rank, that's depending to which bases you're allowed to go into. They check your background, they check your criminal records, they check your family, they check everything. Now if you have a very high level sivug bitroni, you can go into almost any base you want in the army. At some point in the army, I had an injury, so I was pulled out of a combat unit, but I was still I had a very high ranking level of sivug bitroni. So I don't even know why or what. They made me a driver of sensitive documents for the intelligence of the Navy. Now that required to go to secret bases and to physically bring documents. So I had a certain level of clearance. And when I went to the headquarters of the Navy, I can't tell you where it is and what's the code of the door, but nevertheless, it looks like a little building, and you just walk in, and suddenly a wall opens, and you go into an elevator 1,000 meters into the ground, and there's a whole city under doesn't matter where, and the whole headquarters of the Navy's intelligence is hidden. And my job was to transfer. I didn't see the sensitive. I just get it in these sealed boxes. That if chas v'shalom, like a FedEx, if you open a little bit, that's it. You get a bullet to your head. But no, I'm joking. But nevertheless, so why am I saying that? Because if you would come to the door and you don't have the right approval, you can't go into certain bases. A certain base you would go into, you show a certain tag, okay, he can go in. Same way, there's different levels in the world above. And if you will hypothetically go for a walk with Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai in the world above, you can't go into any place you want. He can go wherever he wants. Rabbi Shimon, he has a highest ranking sivug bitroni. He can walk in and out from on every chamber in Shamayim, right? I'm just saying Rabbi Shimon, many other tzaddikim. Since we're learning the Zohar, so I'm quoting Rabbi Shimon. But I'm a simple neshama. I'm not able to go into the chamber of great tzaddikim. So here he's saying here, when I have the merit and I receive the level of neshama, it says, what did he say? Mekadchin le, they're making the person kadosh, vedachan le, and they're making the person pure. Then you're pure and holy, you can already go into a much higher level. Now if you don't have that, so how can you go into the secret bases of the worlds above? You only have the gate, you only have the pass of nefesh and ruach. It doesn't allow you to go so far. It just allows you to go a little bit in. So it says here, lo zacha, if the person doesn't have this level, train dagrin pitchin deinon. He has two levels, how he's able to go into the realm of kedusha, and that is only through nefesh and ruach, which is much, much lower. Nishmata kadisha lebe. But the neshama, the holy neshama, it doesn't have in him. And by the way, not to blow, the holy neshama is not penetrating into the body. And just not to blow the air out of our sails, most of us don't have our level of neshama. A lot of people, I meet sometimes people that they live in some type of dream. They say, I'm in the world of Atzilut, I'm here, I'm there. We're not in that level. I don't think, very few people in our generation that you can say this person has a level of neshama kedusha in him. This is mamasha, people that are great. We're, according to the Arizal, if we're lucky, we get a nefesh. We're working on the level of nefesh. Now, it doesn't mean I don't have a neshama, but it doesn't penetrate into the body in a way that, what did he say here? Ve'ikre kadosh. Then he's called kadosh. So we have to strive to get to this level. But nevertheless, you do tshuva. If a person does real tshuva, they will give him a level of neshama. I'm sure you all experienced at one point in your life that you felt that you are on spiritual steroids, that you're, all day long, mitzvot, learning Torah like a machine. And sometimes you're not. And everything is hard for you, and the Yetzer Hara is banging on the door morning and night. Nevertheless, now just let's continue a little bit so we can finish. But nevertheless, if the person doesn't have this level, then he doesn't have the Holy Spirit, the Holy Neshama in him. Velo od, not only that, ela de'i yista'av mesa'abin le. Not only that, ela she'im metame atzmo me'at mirtzono metamim oto od yoter. Not only that he doesn't have a high level of neshama, if he does a little sin, he brings on himself a lot of impurity. That's us, by the way. You can be all day long in a yeshiva and pray 3 times a day and elevate yourself and learn 3 hours in the morning and go to the mikveh, and the second you go out of the shul you give tzedakah and you everything. And comes the night and you hear a little knock on the door, not the physical door of course, and whoop, some temptation, and you do a little sin and woof, you bring on you such impurity. And this can happen in anything. You go out of the street, somebody tells you, did you hear what so-and-so say about him? Really? What did he say? Come, let me tell you what Moshe Zuchmin said about him. Ooh. And suddenly in one shot, you pour on yourself a bucket of impurity. But nevertheless, it says here, Lord, Ela de'i stav mesa bin le. If the person brings on himself impurity, he brings on himself much more impurity. V'seyua dil ela, and then all the siyua, all the assistance from above, like the Americans, we're not sending you the how do you call it, the assistance, we promise you so and so, we're not sending you. So this is called sayata dishmaya. We talked about it a few times. If you want to be successful in your tshuva, you have to have sayata dishmaya. Sayata dishmaya means the help from above. If you don't have help from above, you can't do anything in this world. We talked about it already. If you remember, I told you the story with the Baal Shem Tov. Quickly again, the story will be fresh in our mind. Every Motzei Shabbat, when we do Havdalah, we ask Hashem to open different gates in Shamayim. Some people, what they do is they say it during Havdalah. Some people, what they do is while they're sitting and eating the 4th meal, what is called Melaveh Malka, there's a certain song, and we sing a song and we're asking Hashem, open gates from heavens, the gates of Parnasah, the gates of love, the gates of health, and so forth. One time the Baal Shem Tov was sitting with his students, was a Motzei Shabbat, and he decided to tackle them with a question. And he told them, what do you think is the most important gate that needs to be opened in Shamayim? So one student said, I know the answer. Of course, very easy, the gate of Parnasah. Without Parnasah, without livelihood, you're worthless. You can't do anything in this world. Okay, the answer said, okay, Baal Shem Tov says, it's a very good answer, but you're wrong. Okay, a different student said, I think it's the gates of tshuva. Because if you can't do tshuva in this world, what can you do? You're worthless in this world without doing tshuva. He says, this is you're very right, it's a very important gate, but this is not the most important one. And they went one after the other. Each one said the gate of love, the gate of fear, the gate of this, the gate of that. At the end, the Baal Shem Tov says, I'm sorry to tell you, you're all wrong. Finally, the daughter of the Baal Shem Tov, who was known to travel around with him, she says, I know. And he told her, what do you think is the most important gate? And she told him, the gate of Sayata Dishmaya, the gate of heavenly assistance. And he told her, you're right. Because without having any Sayata Dishmaya, without having the heavens assisting you, you can't do nothing. The Talmud says, En Adam nokef etzba milemata, a person cannot move his finger in the world below, unless he gets the approval from the world above. That's why we constantly have to be appreciative and thankful to Hashem, because even to blink, it means that they allowed me to blink. And we are not appreciative of anything. Last week I hurt my back when we were building the sukkah. I couldn't move for 4 days. That's when you really appreciate, you put your socks on, you have to appreciate that. I couldn't put my socks on for 3 days. So, again, the Sayata Dishmaya, the help from above, is the most important. If I don't have Sayata Dishmaya, I can't even move 1 inch. So it says here, if Chas v'Shalom, the person decides to do a sin, not only that he brings on himself impurity, v'siyua dil'ila ad yumine, they take all the assistance from above, no Sayata Dishmaya. Now you're stuck with this Yetzer Hara. Let's see if you can battle him. Not only that, the Kedusha is also being removed from the person. Mikanu lehala kol chad lefum arche. And from here, it depends each person according to his acts, according to his behavior, according to how he conducts himself. And each person gets a certain level of Sayata Dishmaya. If you do a lot of good, then they help you a lot. This is measure for measure. Whatever you do down here, and the person, and then that's what you arouse on you from the world above. You do kindness, then they bring kindness on you. You do charity, they do charity to you. You're serious and pursuing truth and so forth, and that's what you bring on yourself. Anyways, that was the argument between Rabbi and Rabbi Yehuda. Tomorrow, Be'ezrat Hashem, we're going to continue and talking a little bit more interesting things. Very interesting things. But till then, we like taking practical things from here. Is that really we are controlled by the world above, and our actions are affecting the world above. Yesterday we learned that the Maim Nukbin, whatever action I do from the world below, then I'm waking some type of an arousement in the world above. If I do something negative, then I arouse on me negative action. If I do something positive, then I arouse on me this effect, this mirror effect of something positive or negative depending on me. Here we're already talking about, we have a little argument between Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Chia, but we really go by Rabbi Yehuda that really the body cannot go without a nefesh and a ruach, and the neshama is subject to my actions. If I clean my actions, if I go and I pursue truth and to do tshuva, then I get all the help from above. They assist me, and I become pure and holy. If chas v'shalom I choose to do the opposite, then I bring on myself this impurity. You know, you don't have to put it to the test because we all have enough experience. But you do one sin, before you know it, the next one comes, and the next one comes, and the next one comes, and by default you already feel disgusting, dirty, useless, and not productive. So he's going in with it because before the flood, then they were just bringing more impurity, more sins, and at some point Hashem had to cut it. So we want to do a preventive medicine and not to get to a point that I'm bringing on myself this impurity, because at some point I'm not going to be able to battle it. Rather, with my actions, I can purify and make myself holy and sanctified. So practically we're saying, and we have to understand that every action that I do has an effect. You can call it a cause and effect. That I will do something positive, then I bring on myself positive energy. I do something negative, then it will bring on myself negative energy. And as long as I know constantly in my mind that I'm in control of what's going on, I mean really I'm not in control of anything, but I have the ability to know that if I do something positive, the reflection coming back at me, or not necessarily the reflection, or maybe the action, or the reaction will be just exactly like that. So, you know, this is what we want to acquire, that while we conducting ourselves, is to know that if I throw something negative into the world, then something negative will be thrown back at me. It's not Hashem punishing me or me doing something. Rather, you bang your head at the wall, you'll get a headache. That's how it works. And needless to say, on the positive side, the more that I increase in positive actions, and that's what I bring on myself. This is the relations between the mind nukbin and the mind duchin. I throw out to the world something energy, I elevate to the worlds above something positive, then what will come at me? Something positive. That's how I've been blessed with parnasa and with health and sustenance and my livelihood and so forth. B'ezrat Hashem should only be blessed with positive things, to know how to activate the positive action from above. Here we see it in the flood. Water that comes down is a very positive thing. If it comes too much, then it will be destructive. So it all depends on us how we relate with the world above, and that's the present we get as a result. רבי חנניה בן הקשה אומר, רצה הקדוש ברוך הוא זכות את ישראל, לפיכך הרבה להם תורה ומצוות, שנאמר אדוני חפץ למען צדקו, יגדיל תורה ויעדיר.